you think it's about time for a podcast that's more fulfilling? One that's about the vibrant exchange of ideas and perspectives that happens when we actually come together. We got you covered. Welcome to the Deep Blue Project, where the depths of conversation meet the waves of personal experience. This is a real, raw, and unscripted show about everything from leadership lessons to self-awareness, wellness, and the latest current events. We cover it all. We have a rotating cast of guests as we share our personal stories, insights, and opinions on the issues that matter most. Plus, we have a blast while doing it. The Deep Blue Project. It's not just a podcast, it's an experience. And now your host, Chris Workman.
Hey everybody, guess what? We get a twofer. We're going to do another one for you. We got Paul Butler finally on here. The busiest man on the planet. Paul, welcome.
Hey, I appreciate you all making the time to fit me in on this. This is a group that I love to hang out with when I'm in person. I have dreamed of doing something professionally with it. So thank you.
Oh, we're happy to have you. Of course, today we got myself, we got Mike Slocum, we got Dave Sherwig from Louisiana, and Mike is coming to us from, where are you at from, Mike, again? My brain just farted.
The great state of Ohio.
State of Ohio. Somebody just sent me a message from Ohio the other day about some, what was it called? I don't want to mess it up. I gotta think about it here. It was some retreat that they do there. Do you know have you heard about that, Mike?
Well, you're gonna have to clue me in a little more.
Hang on, I gotta look it up. It's a retreat they do there. What is the guy? It's Preston Moore was his name. It's called First Responders Brigade. Have you heard of that?
Sounds familiar.
So they do. It's a no cost, I guess, retreat that they do for first responders. First time I heard of it, so it was pretty cool.
Huh? Does it say where it's at?
It just says Ohio. So, Mr. Butler, you're out there in Colorado, are you?
I am. I'm working with the fine professionals of the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. We have 2 training sessions, one today, one tomorrow, and then I'm going down to Pueblo. Pueblo PD is a fantastic place. I didn't realize this about the city of Pueblo. It's called the City of Heroes. More Medal of Honor winners come from the city of Pueblo than any other city in America. Yeah, and they are just heroes on all levels, and they're the agencies and all. So I love working with groups like that.
So earlier we were talking about leadership, and Paul Butler has been around for quite a while, and one of his biggest things is he talks a lot about leadership, and he also MCs a little bit here and there, so we get to see Paul a lot. So what we were trying to talk about a little bit earlier, Paul, just to give you kind of up to speed, was if we see leadership kind of changing in the way that it was just a few years ago, what we're seeing. And one of the things that we were talking about was the ability, or maybe lack of ability, of finding individuals who are, I guess we could say, willing to take that leadership role or wanting to take that leadership role because they don't see it as a benefit. They'd rather stay kind of lower in the hierarchy. Are you seeing that anywhere? Because you make a lot of travels all over the place.
Well, I do believe that it's always much easier to kind of stay at the bottom and just criticize what goes on at the top. That's a very inviting position. But I say this, the true leaders out there, that true leader spirit, that's making the whole thing work, that's the same as it's always been. It's always someone who can't wait to get out there and make a difference that is greater than themselves. And so while you're right, I'm hearing from a lot more vocal people who say, hey, I don't want to do that, more than we're ever willing to say it, just because it's more acceptable to say. I am still finding the same number of amazing patriots and fantastic professionals who are saying, no, somebody's got to do it. Send me. And that, so I think we're still strong on that leadership level.
If you guys got questions for Paul, go ahead and shoot him out. I'm sure he'll love to answer.
Nothing off the top of my head right now. Outside of how's Colorado?
Well, this is a state I love, and I'm going to tell you, I'm super proud that when I work in South Carolina, when I work in Louisiana, when I work in Ohio, all right? There's no doubt. Those are places I go and I really enjoy working. But if you want to know the truth, there's a lot of good strong police support in those areas. And you don't sometimes know what kind of leader you have or what kind of officer you have when everybody's saying, well, we're going to give you a lot of grace and a lot of ability to make mistakes. Now, when you're working in a place like Colorado, well, all of a sudden, the margin for error is much more slim. And what I find here is the people who are doing the job get tested every day. And the leaders who are knocking it out of the park is because they're having to swing hard every swing. And that makes me super proud to come out to a place like this where it's not easy. It's not easy to be a leader or a police officer or a professional. But there are people out here who are committed to doing it, and I love working with those groups, no doubt about it.
Well, it's like the old saying, though, Paul. I mean, it's supposed to be hard, right? If it was easy, everyone would do it. We've all heard that before. And there's a certain modicum of truth to all of that. You know, it's not easy. It is a very difficult career to work in just to start with, and then add the leadership mentality onto it before. And we were talking on the last recording in regards to, you know, I was one of those guys. I wasn't a constant complainer, but I was the guy that avoided the promotion and avoided the responsibility because I was doing it away from work in so many different areas, but I didn't do it at work. And like I was telling the guys earlier, it's for a wide variety of reasons, but mostly because I didn't trust our mayor. I didn't like him. He was a liar and had run-ins with him and everything else. So I stood on the sidelines for the better part of my career. It took me moving down to Louisiana to make that change and make that impact felt at my profession, something I hadn't done up until that point.
Well, I love that it's never too late to start because you are one of those leaders and professionals and just people in general who's a role model for a lot of people, including me. And I had the opposite story. You know, I've wanted to be a leader from the day I started on the job. I looked around and saw people doing it and thought, God, if that guy can do it, I know I can do it, right? And I have always pushed myself to get into those positions probably earlier than I needed to be. And I have to say, of my 27 years on the job, I don't think I ever had a full year where I thought, yeah, I really got a handle on this. I was swimming like I was learning how to do it every day of my life. And that was one of my superpowers. That became a benefit because I knew I had to get out there and outwork everyone. Knew I had to get out there and outstudy and outprepare everyone. And when I couldn't do it, and that was a lot of times, what I had to do was build relationships with people like you guys who wouldn't let me fail even when I was over my head. And I think that that's a lost art these days, is just trying to build relationships that turn into partnerships and partnerships that become friendships, because friendships just don't let friends fail.
I think that's an awesome thought. I think that's one of the things from the day that, I can say that I met Paul years ago. And then just you have that, having people that are that constant bond for you is something that makes everything better when you have those tough times, when you have those points where you think you're just, I don't want to say over your head, but you're just taking that pause, that you have those people that just reach out, or you know you can reach out to, and they're always uplifting for you. And Paul, I thank you for being that person. I tell people all the time, once I say, out of the blue, Paul Butler, I'll get a text message from Paul Butler just asking me, how are you doing today, my friend? And you just got to smile, and you can't do anything but smile when you get that text message. It's just, and Paul, I thank you very much for that, because it always seems to come at the perfect time.
Well, I think that when I left the job, I had the same concern that everyone has, and sometimes it's a fear, is that, well, then I'm going to move away from this group of support and all these great people that I love working with and that I'd give my life for, and I know they give their life for me. But I have found that I've just moved it into a global network that way. Each of you guys, from Mike and David, and obviously you, Chris, you're just guys I could call on if I need advice or needed a kidney, right? Like I just didn't I didn't lose a lot by leaving the job. I almost feel like I gained a brand new network that is incredibly powerful and probably even more far-reaching. Well, if you feel like you're the beneficiary of something like that, then what's your obligation in the deal? How do you go be a better friend to them than they're being to you? And you guys make that tough, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I appreciate that sentiment.
I'll jump in on that just for the listeners. When I was doing, in 2013, I went to Cleveland State University to get my master's in public administration. And at the end of the introduction class, our professor gave us a list of I don't know, it was like 10 pieces of advice from her career. And the number one thing on that list was relationships matter. And I always remembered that. And to be honest with you, that's the only thing I actually remember out of the top 10. But that was number one. And, maybe it didn't resonate with me right then. But as the years have gone by and as I've experienced life more, nothing further from the truth, not only in public administration, but just in life in general. And so in leadership, you need those relationships. Absolutely.
When you mentioned earlier about, some of the changes in the job MIC and the people, I think the number one leadership change that I've seen, we've always had people who've taken care of business. The worst one we had knew how to go do the job. I think that the biggest change I've seen is that shift in focus. The really good leaders don't just take care of business, they take care of their people. And I have found out that that's not as difficult or complex as we make it. We've turned this into, some big, boogeyman. Like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to take care of those people. But the deal is that little check-in, that little I care about you, that remembering their birthday or knowing their wife or husband and children's names, all of a sudden letting them know I see you means you're valuable to me. And I think that the best leaders these days aren't just the ones who are able to take care of business. It's the ones who take care of the people who are taking care of business, and that's their people.
Right. Well, I think we're trying to do that even more every day. Unfortunately, I think for some of us, I feel some people say it's a better late than never, but sometimes we're actually starting to kind of key on that, which is something we should probably be teaching our people from the academy on. Hopefully that shift is coming. You see it, I think, more in smaller agencies from the people that I talk to. Maybe because it's easier, I don't know. Maybe because it's easier for the people at the top, if they truly want to know their people, because they're not dealing with hundreds of officers, they're dealing with small numbers. So, you have to start somewhere. And a lot of people ask me, well, how do I do that in a place like Philadelphia? Or how do I do that in a place like Minnesota? Well, a lot of your places are, you have, smaller sections or you like it could be at the precinct level. It doesn't have to necessarily be at the top level. You can start it at the precinct level. And that's kind of what we've been trying to tell people when they ask that, like, just have that one person that cares. It will make a difference, even if it's at that level.
Well, I think too many people miss opportunities because they're waiting to make this big impact. I've done it on an airplane in a 45-minute flight, in a rental car line while we're waiting to get a rental car, or in a hotel lobby while you're waiting to get checked in. Chris, you've written a book is what I consider to be what should be a bestseller in the world, because you're able to kind of draw from how it was. And on this call, we all know how it was. Whatever you saw out there, they told you to suck it up. They came to you and they didn't ask you, were you okay? They told you you were okay.
Yeah.
They were like, hey, David, you're okay, right? You'll be okay.
Go to the next call.
And then it changed to where they quit saying you'll be okay to you're okay, right? In other words, just trying to lead the witness for shaking in their boots that someone's going to say, no, I'm really not okay, right? But now I have to say, I'm listening to people, and people do it for me. They see me traveling like a crazy man, like I'm running from the police or something. It's just 10 days on the road at a time, and I'll have people reach out. Hey, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm doing great, and I'm doing this. Like, yeah. But are you okay?
Yeah.
It's not, are you doing great work? Not, are you making a big difference? Is that wearing you down? Because if you need something, man, I'm there for you. And I can tell it's a new generation of leadership, but I say this about that young generation that everybody worries about. I don't worry about them. They are so much more in tune with their feelings, so much more willing to talk about their stuff. Even when I had problems, I wouldn't have told it.
Yeah.
Not that crowd. They will flat let you know if they have a concern or if they're struggling, if they have an addiction or they have a traumatic event. And I'm going to tell you, that's going to be this generation's superpower. Not that they have a lot of problems. We all do. It's that they are willing to go ahead and address them. And not all of us do that.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. I think at the beginning, I know a lot of the classes that you take or things, one of the things our generation would say, oh my gosh, these younger people, we bring them in and all they want is vacation and they want to know when they got time off and they want to know if you're going to take care of them. I said this earlier, they're our kids. That's the way we brought them up. you're complaining about it, but you brought them up the right way to start caring about themselves because you never did that early enough. We didn't do that. We didn't do that because we were career mindset. I think that's the only way I can put it. We had a career mindset. No matter what happened, we were going to get the job done. We were going to put that stuff away. We were going to throw it in the back of the closet, and we were going to go get the next job done. And they're willing to tell you, hey, man, I ain't feeling good about this. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, because as you said, we were willing to do it if it cost us our faith and our family and our friends. Like we were just going to be dying old and alone and bitter and worn out. And they don't want to go out that way. And I don't blame them. I wouldn't want that for my children. I had somebody talking to me and they were saying, you know, if their child came to them and wanted to do the job, they would tell them they wouldn't, not because they don't think that their child would be good for the job. It's that they don't think the job would be good for their child. And until we get that fixed, people like us are going to look around and say, I don't know if that's how I want my child to be treated or viewed, because we got through it okay. But I'm going to tell you, it leaves some scars. Even if it doesn't leave it with us, it'll leave it with the ones who love us. And I saw this quote the other day, and what they were doing, they're giving a guy all these medals. It was a World War II hero. And Eddie Albert, he was an actor. A lot of people wouldn't remember him. But one of his famous quotes is, you know Eddie Albert, right?
I don't know who Eddie Albert is.
Eddie Albert has one of the greatest quotes. I didn't realize this. He's a war hero. I'm talking about a decorated World War II veteran who saw some of the worst things. And they interviewed him one time about being a war hero. And what he said is they give you a lot of medals. They give you a lot of medals for what you do in war. But they don't give out any medals for what war does to you. And I think that that's a lot like law enforcement today. You notice they'll give you a medal in a heartbeat for doing something great. That's wonderful. But they sure don't pass out any medals to the families that get scarred or to the friends who get scarred, right? And until we kind of get better at that, you're going to see this little stagnation of people trying to decide, the water looks good, but I don't know if I want to jump in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, they don't realize, I guess we don't realize, or we look back now and we can tell them stories. And there's plenty out there. I'm not the only one. We all know what we've had or what we've dealt with. I think we were willing to pay the price when it happened, but now looking back on it, the price that we paid was kind of not worth it. I'd hate to say it. It just was the relationships lost, the family time lost, the things that have happened over the years. And it's not just me. Anybody who's been doing this job for a minute and in the last 30 years, you've given up so much that you can't get back. And we spend our time I'm still trying to get back time with my son that I wasn't able to do then. But you'll never recover that time. That's just a price you paid for what? For what? Because what's that saying they say now, man? You could leave your job tomorrow, somebody else will be sitting in it next day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shame, but you know, trying to stop that or pay that price. I think to your point, Paul, was they see that and they're like, I don't think I want to pay that price. I don't want to pay that price.
Well, I'd say this, you know, there's a difference between being a parent and being a grandparent. I'm both now. My daughters have their own families and they've delivered these precious little angels to be grandbabies. And I'm going to tell you this, I've noticed in the law enforcement community, there is no more generous grandparent than a police officer because they are trying to redo that time that they feel like they missed with their child. And so my children tell me all the time, Daddy, you're all over. You want to spend time with you. You're not holding them accountable like you did us. And it's not because I love them more. It's because I know more what love means. And you're right. I won't miss it. I won't miss it with them like I did with my children. Yeah,
it's a tough thing. And there's a lot of people out there that are still trying to figure that out. And it's a thing we deal with every single day. Every single day. I mean, and it's not, was I sad about it when I had to look at it? Sure, I'm sad about it. I'm sad about the time, the relationship loss and the time lost, but I can't get that back. The only thing I could do is work on it today and be better today than I was yesterday, because I can't change that. So I think we're just hoping that in these discussions and when we talk about things that people listen to the podcast and they listen to, our trainings, or they listen to us when we're out in person, to say, hopefully it just resonates with one person to go, wow, I see that, and I don't want to do that. So learn from our mistakes. That's why we tell our stories, right? That's why we're out there talking and we tell our stories, because You just want to help other people. Well, what do you think, Dave?
I think this has been a fantastic opportunity. I cannot thank you enough for bringing me into this, and not just this group, but all you guys. And I'm here to tell you, for me, this is only 3 years running. I didn't know anything about this group until 3 years ago. And it was 3 years ago in Orlando, Florida, where I met Paul for the first time, met you for the first time, briefly in passing, and then capitalized on San Antonio last year and Mike this year here in New Orleans. As the old saying goes, I'm all in, and this is what I want to do moving forward. My goal is to continue to do this and evolve and build something, as we were talking in the last conversation about, I want to leave my agency that I'm at, because this is my last one. I'm not going anywhere else. So I'm in the twilight of my career, and I want to be able to leave something that's going to last for a legacy for the next generation. And it starts with aligning myself with great leaders like you guys and maintaining that contact. It'd be one thing to go to a conference or go to a training class and go, okay, well, that was good. And you shake the hands, thank you very much. And then that's it. And move on to the next. But this network of community that we've developed is second to none. Absolutely second to none. And I'm so honored to be part of it.
Well, I certainly feel that way about you. I mean, you can tell there's just certain people who walk up to you. I mean, I'm sure Chris knows. I mean, he's in one of those positions where a lot of people know him and come up and speak. Every now and then someone comes up, and when they grab that hand, you all of a sudden know that that's a different connection. It's more than a handshake. It's a bond. And David, you have that better than anybody under the sun. I mean, your presence is your commitment. So I appreciate that.
I appreciate that, my friend. Mike, it's all because of Gus's chicken.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Gus's chicken there in New Orleans. No. Paul, I just wanted to touch on something with you real quick. I appreciate you coming on and sharing with us, because you do get the opportunity and the privilege to travel this beautiful country and to meet with law enforcement officers from across the nation. You have a real feel, I think, for the heartbeat of law enforcement in that way, where we might be a little more localized because we're not traveling the country. Although Chris he's coming after you on that.
That's the truth.
Yeah. I appreciate that you're seeing people step up and say, send me. That's very encouraging to see. And we've been talking about a hesitancy to step in the pool or to get in the water, the work-life balance, the aversion to risk, I guess, to try to keep stress down and things like that. I say get in the water. Because if without adversity, there's no growth. But the only thing I would caution, on those that say send me, and you have a few people doing the work of many. As one of our guys used to say, master rides his best horses. And I think in leadership, your bosses tend to say, hey, that guy's willing to go, and he's squared away, and he's crossing T's and dotting I's. Let's give him this. Let's give him this. Let's give him this. And, sometimes we have to say no to the lady in the red dress from the Matrix there that walks by. So that's where the trick is, to me, is figuring out that balance. But by all means, I say get in the pool because you have to swing big like they are in Colorado, or you're never going to get that home run, or you're never going to experience all the good that comes with leadership. Obviously there's risk and there's scars involved and things like that. But as I said in the previous recording, there's no other way I'd rather live. I don't want to leave anything left on the table, but I'm also a big fan of building resilience and officer wellness, and there's a balance in there somewhere, but you got to get in the pool. So just circling back on that, that's good to hear that people want to be sent, and we need to get them in the pool, but just be careful with how much you take on, so to speak.
Well, no doubt about that. But I do say this. I mean, I'm not sure because I guess this is a very individual thing, but everybody has to kind of decide what is living, right? We know what life is. They can keep you on a machine and keep you alive, but what is living? And it's different than just being alive. One of the points I make with that is I have a dear friend who I've learned so much from. I always try to give credit when I can of the people who really built me in the mindset I have today. And his name is Dr. Sam Seashole. He's a veterinarian, but he's just one of the wisest men I've known, one of the smartest men I've ever known. Back when I was a sergeant, And I had been asked to be the chief deputy of the Horry County Sheriff's Office from the sergeant level. And I think you all know that's not a big popular decision with the other 399 people in that organization, right? Is you're about to move from sergeant into second in command of an organization. And with that is going to come a lot of scrutiny, a lot of dissension, a lot of dislike, and sometimes some sabotage. That's usually what we see in a move like that. So there I am staring at the pool. The water looks great, right? And I couldn't talk to many people. I'd been sworn to secrecy. So I'd spoken to my wife about it. Obviously my wife's always supported me every dopey idea I've ever had, right? Like if I wanted to do Amway, my wife would be like, oh, you'll be great, right? Like, okay. So she was 100% good, but that is her role. And she has been great for me for that. I need that in my life. But I also need someone every now and then who warns me like Mike. I need somebody like Mike in my life who every now and then says, hey, yeah. The water's warm, but it's also deep. And I need you to make sure you don't stay over your head too long, right? Okay, I get it. But I'd talked to Dr. Seashell. That was the other guy I talked to. And he said one of the most profound things for me, because he's done these amazing things. I mean, he went to the University of Manila in the Philippines to get his degree. I'm talking about, this is a guy who didn't know a soul in the Philippines and goes over there and gets his degree in veterinary medicine. Like one of these guys who's just lived the wildest life. One time hitchhiked from the state of Florida to the country of Belize.
Wow.
Yeah, for the summer, he hitchhiked to Belize, caught wild animals in the jungle and sold them to get a plane ticket back. He's one of these guys that you sit around like a campfire on a cold night and listen to him tell stories, right?
Yeah.
And when I told him I had this opportunity and was talking about my concerns, he said, Paul, you've got to do that. You've got to do it. He said, what else are you going to do? He says, you want to stay a sergeant and one day you'll tell everybody, I was almost the chief deputy of the Horry County Sheriff's Office. He said, now you listen to this. He said, most people in the world tell everybody what they almost did. You hear some people run an entire life on, I could have done this, I almost did this, I wish I'd have done this. They'll run an entire life. He said, but you listen to this, all of us one day are going to be in the old folks' home. He said, and there's going to be this group of nurses, and you're going to be wanting to tell stories. It's going to be your value at the moment. And you're either going to be sitting around telling them, let me tell you what I did in my life, or you're going to be sitting there trying to get them to listen to what you almost did. He said the difference between the two is when you're telling stories of what you almost did, they wish you'd shut up and eat your oatmeal. Whereas if you're telling stories of what you actually did in life, they're riveted. They can't turn away. I'm sitting here on a podcast with guys who have reached out and grabbed that brass ring that everyone else would have said. I'm like Chris Workman. Let me tell you about the book I almost wrote. They tell me that story of David of like, I had this wonderful career and I retired and I had enough to pay my bills and do these wonderful cruises and all. And I just almost went back and was this incredible leader. And then they're like, Mike, they're like, let me tell you, I almost was part of this foundation that really saved lives and changed. And what everybody wishes is those people would shut up and eat their oatmeal. You are guys who lived it. That is a story worth hearing. The only reason anybody wants to listen to this podcast isn't because we dream bigger than anyone else. It's because we're willing to do more than anyone else. And this is what I'd recommend to people is just don't try to stay alive in this world. Try to live. And every now and then that comes with a little risk. Take care of yourself. Take care of those around you. Surround yourself with friends like I have who will kind of protect you from yourself sometimes. But don't you be afraid to jump out there in that water and paddle like heck. And it doesn't matter if you see a shark every now and then. Makes a better story when you get out on the other side.
I don't think absolutely. I could ever add anything more to that fantastic Paul Butler way of putting things. Man, I love you, brother. I swear. You just leave me with this. Whenever I get done talking to you or whenever you get done telling these stories, my heart just feels so full. I can't. People are going to be out there going, this guy's corny as shit. No, I can't explain it to you. The way that I feel when he just finishes telling a story like that is like, I could go fight a bear right now. I'm like, I'm ready to go. Let's go.
Well, I just want to live every day, right? I just don't know how much of it, how many more days I have. Certainly not the next moment is promised. And around my funeral, I know that there'll be some times when my family said, I wish I'd have had more time with him. And there'll be people who say, yeah, I wish I'd have gotten a few more calls from him and all. But there won't be anybody saying, I don't know what he did in life. They'll be able to point to those things because I'm just not missing any opportunity. That's whether it's in Colorado or whether it's in Uganda, Africa. What I'm going to do is when there's a chance, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to serve. If somebody's got to go, send me.
Well, we all know that. We love you for it, Paul, and we're happy to see you every time we see you. And I always love seeing you in that little extra special grip and that I love you, brother. So I love you, brother. I thank you very much for your time. I know you're very busy. I appreciate you coming on from us from Colorado, and thank you for spending the time with us, my friend.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the honor. I thank you most of all for the friendship. Guys like you make a difference for guys like me. I mean, I'm running it like it's a rocket, but I promise you guys like you are the fuel in that rocket. And I'm actually glad I missed the segment with Michael Laidler. He's kind of a rock star, and I wouldn't want to be overshadowed. I'm kind of feeling good that this got broken into 2 segments. I listened to that other, but I'm glad I wasn't a part of it.
It works out well. Well, thank you, my friends, again. I appreciate you taking the time. Paul, please take care of yourself and enjoy your time out in Colorado. Gentlemen, thank you again, and we will see you on the other side. Stay safe.
Love you guys.
You've been listening to the Deep Blue Project. As a father, husband, friend, and someone who loves to chat about anything and everything, Chris brings over 3 decades of public service experience to the table. With a background in firefighting and law enforcement, along with degrees in criminal justice and behavioral science, he's seen it all, and he's learned a thing or two along the way. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on LinkedIn and X at Deep Blue Project. Find our website at deepblueproject.com. And to reach out, send an email to deepblueproject@outlook.com. Keep keeping it real, and we'll see you next time on the Deep Blue Project.